My son scheduled his wedding for the weekend after Thanksgiving. That day, I was downtown at an old-fashioned dress boutique, trying on a mother-of-the-groom gown for the big day. I had just stepped out of the fitting room when Daniel stormed through the door. The moment I saw him, I held up two dresses I'd carefully chosen. This purple one feels elegant and dignified, and the other champagne gold. It's softer, but also very. Before I could finish, he snatched both gowns from my hands and threw them to the floor. Mom, maybe you shouldn't come to the wedding at all. You sitting alone in the front row. It's just too awkward. Dad and Ruby have been together for years. They look good together, respectable. A polished wedding makes you look good, doesn't it? My lips trembled. I couldn't quite find my voice, so I forced the words out, low and tight. You're uninviting me, but you're inviting that bastard. Have you forgotten what he did when you were? Daniel cut me off, already irritated. Enough. That stuff happened decades ago. Can we stop dredging it up, please? He hated you. He didn't love you. But he's still my father. We're connected by blood. You'll never understand that. Well then, I guess I don't understand. Their father-son bond clearly runs deep, which means all the things I'd prepared clearly don't matter to him. To him, I'm the one who lacks polish, who doesn't fit the image. I should stop kidding myself. My divorce from Daniel's father was anything but civil. He made some quick cash flipping real estate and suddenly decided I wasn't good enough for him. But when it came time to actually end the marriage, he refused to split our assets fairly. Instead, he marched his mistress right into our home bold as brass and used her presence to taunt me. I was still young then, naive, stubborn. I stood my ground and said, fine, we can divorce. But I want half. We built this life together, and I'm not walking away with nothing. That defiance, it bought me nothing but endless screaming matches, sometimes worse. The worst day of all, he hurled a kettle of freshly boiled water at me. I was holding baby Daniel at the time, rocking him to sleep. The scalding water poured down my shoulder, blistering my skin in seconds. The pain was so sharp, I nearly dropped him. And him, he didn't rush us to the hospital. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, watching with that cold, dead look in his eyes. Maureen, he said, for every day you stall, I'll beat you once. I know you can take pain, but don't forget, you've got a son. I screamed back at him, shaking. Are you insane? Daniel's your child. Is there nothing left in you that's human? And then he smiled, twisted. Cruel. A son. Plenty of women would die to give me sons. He doesn't matter to me. That was the moment I got truly scared. Not for me, for my child. So I bit down, swallowed my pride, and walked out of that house with nothing but my baby boy. All I asked for was custody. That's all I needed. After that, I took whatever work I could find. I hauled bricks on construction sites. I ran sewing machines in loud, greasy workshops. I worked day and night any place that would take me. I went. I had no one to watch Daniel, so I tied him to my back. Worked with one arm holding him, the other doing whatever the job needed. I did that for 10 years. When he finally hit middle school, I'd scraped together enough to rent a tiny shop in town. That's how I started my own little business, mending clothes, doing alterations. It was modest, but it was mine, and it kept us going. In Daniel's senior year of high school, the pressure on him was intense. I made sure he had healthy meals every day, even if it meant closing shop just to deliver them. Sometimes, I'd show up with bits of thread still stuck to my eyelashes. He was 18 then, tall and skinny. One day, he reached out and gently brushed the thread off my lashes. Then he looked up at me, eyes shining like cut glass. Mom, he said, I'm gonna work hard. I'll get into college, make a ton of money, and give you the life you deserve. He meant it. God, he meant it so much I almost cried right there. But now, that same boy I raised on my back says I'm not presentable enough to be seen at his wedding. Now he tells me, cold as stone, that I don't understand the blood bond he has with his father. After Daniel stormed out, I bent down and quietly picked up the mother-of-the-groom dress he'd hurled to the ground. My fingertips lingered on the smooth satin, tracing the delicate stitching. A tightness bloomed in my chest. I folded the dress with care and brought it back to Joan, the owner of the boutique. These still have the tags on, I said softly. I don't think I'll be needing them anymore. Maybe you could help me find something more. Every day. Joan, sharp as ever, didn't ask questions. She simply nodded and handed me 2 dresses, one in deep forest green, the other in a soft lavender. Here, she said. Try these. I changed and stepped out of the fitting room, pausing in front of the full-length mirror. The woman staring back at me looked composed, grounded, a little unfamiliar, and yet there was something in her that felt known. I gave her a hesitant smile. She smiled back. And just like that, I chuckled quiet, surprised. Joan laughed too. Sweetheart, are you falling for your own reflection? She tugged me toward the makeup table. Dresses from my store come with a complimentary makeover. Come on. Let me give you a little magic. I nodded, and as her hands worked their way across my face, I watched the woman in the mirror grow more refined, more alive. When I left the boutique, I didn't go home. I called a cab and asked the driver to take me to the venue, the scenic hotel in town where Daniel's wedding was scheduled. The hotel manager looked at me cautiously. Ma'am, just to confirm, if you cancel now, there's a 30 fee. Are you sure you want to cancel an event just a month away? I nodded. I'm sure. After all, if I wasn't even allowed to attend the ceremony, what business did I have leaving my name on the venue? The moment the cancellation refund pinged into my phone, I felt an unexpected sense of calm. I asked the driver to head downtown instead. I wanted to buy something for myself, something to mark this moment of waking up. I found a diamond bracelet. Clean lines, tasteful sparkle, nothing over the top. Daniel had mentioned more than once that as the groom's mother, I should step up and gift Heather something respectable, preferably diamonds, something worthy of showing off. As I slipped that $5,000 bracelet onto my own wrist, I suddenly understood why Heather was so obsessed with appearances. This gleam of dignity, it was intoxicating. I stepped out of the jewelry store and stood at the curb, watching the flow of traffic stream by. And for the first time in a long time, I had no idea where I was supposed to go. So much of my life had orbited around Daniel. After he left for college, I threw myself into my little tailoring shop. But last year, the government bought out the land. My shop was gone. In return, I received 2 rental units and a $200,000 payout. If Daniel had been paying attention, he'd know the store had closed a while ago. But he never asked. In fact, I once overheard him telling Heather, right to her face, my mom never went to college. She just does a bit of sewing. That was the first time I'd met his fiancée. I didn't say a word. Then came the engagement, the venue. The planner ran himself ragged trying to juggle it all. Not once did he ask, Mom, how are you holding up? And speaking of the wedding planner, well, I should go there too. I took another cab to the wedding planning company. The young salesgirl at the front desk greeted me with a professional smile. Is there something about our service you're unhappy with, ma'am? Not wanting to stir up trouble, I told a casual lie. The wedding's off. The kids decided to call it quits, no point in keeping a planner. No sooner had I said it than Daniel and Heather walked in, holding their finalized wedding itinerary. The moment Daniel spotted me, his face twisted. What the hell are you doing here? Didn't I make myself clear? You're not coming to the wedding. His eyes were blazing. And dressed like that, what? You trying to scare people off looking like a damn witch? Heather reached out to tug his sleeve, trying to calm him down, but he shook her off. Mom, I'm begging you, please. We're drowning in stress. If you really care about me, stop making things harder. The girl behind the counter glanced from me to them, suddenly nervous. So, should I go ahead and cancel the package or? Yes, I said quietly, but firmly. Why? Daniel and I spoke at the same time. He stared at me, dumbfounded. Mom, seriously, could you not do this right now? His brow furrowed so tight it looked like it might split. I'm on the brink of collapse here. You don't even understand how this works. And now you want to meddle. Why? There's only a month left. If we cancel now, where the hell are we supposed to find a new planner? Dad and Ruby are going with us to the hotel walkthrough tomorrow. What the hell am I supposed to tell them now? I watched his mouth move, lips flapping like he had no memory of the life I gave him. This was the same boy I carried on my back to construction jobs. The one I sewed beside through the night, whose meals I packed with care during exam week. Now all he wanted was for me to stop being a nuisance. I straightened up, looked the salesgirl in the eye, and said, yes, cancel it, please. I'm confirming the refund. Daniel went pale. He crossed his arms and sneered. Go ahead, make a scene. Let's see how far you can take this little meltdown. Just then, Heather walked over with a paper cup of water, gently placing it in front of me. Maureen, is something going on lately? Do you need help with something? I could maybe. I had just taken the cup when Daniel swatted it out of my hands. splashing water all over my dress. Don't waste your time, he scoffed. She's in menopause. Drama's part of the package. Then he tossed out, let's see which planner you can book now, last minute, and dragged Heather out the door without so much as a backward glance, completely unfazed by the water soaking into the hem of my skirt. The girl behind the desk slid a tissue toward me silently. She didn't ask any questions, just started processing the cancellation. A short while later, accounting confirmed the refund. $9,000 hit my bank account. They deducted a penalty. Sure. But at least that money wasn't going toward rewarding a son who couldn't even look his own mother in the eye. By the time I got home, it was already past 7. Luckily, I'd called the real estate agent earlier, and the young man arrived promptly. Miss Carter, are you sure you want to sell the condo? He glanced at me, cautious. You probably don't know this, but the lady across the hall has had her eye on it for a while. She's been saying she wants to live on the same floor as her son. She reached out to you a few times, but you wouldn't budge. I nodded. Well, now it's available. That condo, I had emptied my entire savings to buy it for Daniel. He had just decided to settle back in Santa Clarita at the time, but he was still out of state on a work trip. The original owner was leaving the country and needed to sell quickly. I jumped at the opportunity and bought it under my own name. The plan was to transfer it to him after his wedding. Looking back now, thank God I never followed through. After all, hadn't he already reconnected with the father he claimed shared some mystical blood bond? To him, I'm the embarrassing one. So this condo, lovingly prepared by the woman he's decided isn't good enough, probably meant nothing to him, because the buyer was eager to close. The paperwork was done quickly. When that full $500,000 landed safely in my account, I realized something with startling clarity. I had finally, completely let go of Daniel. That same day, Joan, the owner of the boutique, where I'd tried on the wedding gown, invited me to Napa Valley for a sourcing trip. She said there was a market there full of independent designers, and she was meeting a few new collaborators. She even planned to learn some new tailoring techniques while she was at it. I hesitated for a moment, then turned and started packing. For decades, I'd been stuck in that small town. It was only a 3-hour train ride from my place to Napa Valley. I'd never realized it was that close. At the station, people bustled past us in every direction. Joan nudged my shoulder, beaming. Head high, chest out, strut like a queen. I grinned and gave her a silly, exaggerated pose. We both burst out laughing. In Napa, she hardly touched the ground, constantly moving between warehouses, studios, and workshops, eventually taking lessons from an old master tailor. I wandered the town by myself. Every morning, I'd stop at the market for a coffee, maybe pick up some fresh flowers or pastries, then stroll the sunlit streets at my own pace. One morning, I had just bought a small bouquet from a flower cart when my phone rang. It was Daniel. The second I picked up, he launched into a machine gun rant. Did you lock down a new wedding planner or not? I told you the old one was fine, but Noya had to cancel. Now we're short on time. Who did you even book? Dad and Ruby are heading to the hotel to rehearse. Just give me the name of the new planner already. I looked down at the bouquet in my hands and gave a small smile. Your dad's there. No, then go ask him. Why bother calling someone as unpresentable as me? There was 10 seconds of silence. He hadn't expected that response. Then came the scoff, the venom. Are you seriously being difficult again? No wonder Dad divorced you. You never knew how to prioritize. Invitations have gone out. We've got 20 days left. And you're playing what, some kind of grudge game? My voice was calm, almost detached. Daniel, what does this wedding have to do with me? I could hear him seethe. He took a loud breath and exploded. Mom, can you please just listen to me? It's 20 days away. 20. Do you think we can plan a whole new wedding in that time? Where are all these guests supposed to go? I slowly tucked the bouquet into the woven tote bag hanging from my arm. Oh, thanks for reminding me about the hotel. I canceled that too. He completely lost it. Maureen Carter, have you lost your damn mind? If you need mental help, get it, but don't take it out on me. All because I said you couldn't come to the wedding. That's it. Heather's been nitpicking every detail, and I've put up with it. And Yuri, my mother, instead of helping, you're tearing everything down. Napa was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet you could breathe. I didn't want to spend that air listening to my son scream like a stranger. I didn't want to be reminded, in this peaceful place, of the brutal truth, that I had spent my life raising a boy who had grown into this cold, selfish man. So I ended the call. Then I blocked his number. Unfortunately, even the calmest peace can be shattered beyond repair. That one sentence, all because I said you couldn't come to the wedding, kept echoing in my ears. Over and over, I asked myself, was I really willing to cut off the son I had loved and protected for decades, over this? Or had I simply shielded Daniel so much that he'd completely forgotten what Donald and Ruby had done to us back then? It was the 3rd year after the divorce. Donald had started seeing someone else, someone even younger than Ruby. Somehow, Ruby caught wind of it. To protect his precious new fling, Donald decided to flip the script. He accused me of using my visits with Daniel as a cover to seduce him. And to make his story believable, he suddenly began playing the doting father. Started cozying up to Daniel, who was only 7 at the time. I still believed children shouldn't carry the weight of adult betrayal. So I'd told Daniel we separated peacefully, that no one was to blame. That graceful restraint became Donald's weapon. A few trips to the amusement park, a couple toys, a few shiny gifts. That was all it took for him to plant himself in Daniel's heart again. And then, when Ruby decided to snoop through Donald's phone, looking for proof, he went full theater. He took Daniel by the hand, brought him into the living room, and looked Ruby in the eye. Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I just couldn't let go of my son. That's why Maureen found a way to sneak back in. But to prove my heart belongs only to you, I'm ending this right here, right now. From this moment on, I am no longer that boy's father. I will never speak to him again. Daniel was 7 years old. He stood in the living room of his father's house, humiliated in front of his stepmother, rejected like he was some filthy mistake. His little body curled up tight on the couch, sobbing, Daddy, what did I do wrong? I'll be good, I promise. It didn't matter. Donald, in his desperation to appease Ruby, stripped himself of every ounce of decency. I raced over the moment I sensed something was off. What I found was water everywhere in Daniel, pale as a ghost, sitting alone on the front steps. He was soaked to the bone, rain pouring off his tiny frame. In that moment, I wanted Donald gone. Not angry, not punished, erased. I imagined it 1,000 ways show I'd make it look like an accident, how no one would ever know. But then I picked Daniel up off the ground. He felt like a rain-drenched rag doll. If something happened to me, what would become of him? He was just a child. He needed care. He needed a future. The rain that night blurred the streets until they barely existed. I waded through knee-deep water, slipping with every step, carrying Daniel on my back all the way home. He burned with fever for 3 straight days. And when it finally broke, he never mentioned Donald again. I thought that silence meant we understood each other, that we had silently agreed. We would never allow Donald back into our lives. I hadn't planned on coming home before Thanksgiving ended. But there were still a few steps left in the paperwork for the condo sale that required my signature, so I had no choice but to return early. By the time I arrived, it was close to 9 p.m. I walked up to my front door and froze. The exterior wall of my home had been vandalized in red spray paint, scrawled with phrases so vicious they felt like they were carved straight into my chest. Menopausal psycho. Selfish mother dumped her son to rot. Cut ties. Fine. Don't expect me to bury you when you die. Each one more cruel than the last. But what made it unbearable was the handwriting. It was unmistakable. Familiar. So familiar my knees almost gave out. Tears welled up and spilled over. I fumbled for my keys, hands shaking, only to realize I couldn't unlock the door. I called a locksmith. When the technician arrived, he crouched beside the lock, peered into it, and muttered, "Someone filled it with industrial glue." No choice, I had to replace the entire lock. The locksmith was a middle-aged man with too much to say. As he worked, he kept glancing at the spray paint, clearly dying to comment. "Ma'am, I gotta ask, this your son's doing? Bet you anything it is. The glue too. He must be real mad at you to pull something like this. But seriously, what parent can actually win against their kid? Things are this bad now. What are you gonna do down the road?" I closed my eyes. Didn't answer. Even a simple lock replacement couldn't be quiet. When I stayed silent, he looked sheepish. "I'm sorry. I got a big mouth. Always talking where I shouldn't." Just then, Daniel appeared at the door, face full of fury. "Oh, you decided to show up. Had your fun out there." I looked at this angry man, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't reconcile him with the boy who once told me, in a trembling voice, that he'd give me the best life in the world. When I didn't respond, he stepped closer. "This is what it's all about, right? The wedding. Heather said you raised me on your own, and that if we didn't let you come, she wouldn't marry me. I talked to Dad and Ruby. They'll do the ceremony and speeches, but you can sit in the front row. That work for you? Just stop making this harder. The wedding's in 18 days. Tell me which planner and hotel you rebooked. We're out of time. The locksmith nearly dropped his tools. Whoa, hold on. Ma'am, what did you raise? Your own mother doesn't get to speak at your wedding, but your dad and the woman he cheated with do, and you're okay with that. He turned to Daniel. You should be ashamed. Daniel rolled his eyes. Who the hell are you? The locksmith didn't flinch. Just a guy fixing your mother's lock. And unlike you, I know when to keep my mouth shut or open it when it damn well matters. I couldn't help but laugh. I slipped him an extra 20 in cash. He winked and left with his toolbox like a hero walking off into the sunset. But no sooner had the door opened than Daniel barged right in, uninvited. Okay, look, you're jealous fine. But don't go overboard. Heather's parents are flying in next week, and this whole planner and hotel mess, you're making us look bad. What do you think they'll think of you? I know you booked replacements. Just tell me who they are. He still believed I was just throwing a tantrum. It hadn't even occurred to him that maybe I was done. I looked at him and said, clearly, calmly, this is the last time I'm going to say it. I'm not coming to your wedding. Not even if you put me on stage. I didn't rebook anything. No planner. No venue. If I still cared, I wouldn't have canceled at all. I just don't want to spend my money. Or my energy. Not even a drop. Daniel stared at me, stunned. No, that's not possible. You've never not cared. I cut him off. Didn't you say you and your father share something deeper? Then go have your perfect wedding with him. I'm just a single, divorced, shameful woman. What place would I have organizing anything for you? It finally hit him. My words landed this time. His face flushed red. Fine. Don't come crawling back later. And then he slammed the door behind him. Do I regret it? Of course I do. I regret giving up my half of the assets all those years ago. I regret breaking my back on construction sites, wasting years in factories. I regret pouring every last ounce of myself into him. But now, I choose to stop the bleeding. I never imagined Daniel could be this cruel. He edited our old voice messages into a short video and posted it on TikTok and Facebook with a sensational title. My mom canceled my wedding venue and planner just to blow the money on some old guy. The video was set against photos of me from my hardest years working long shifts in the sewing shop, looking gaunt, exhausted, with bits of thread still clinging to my eyelashes. A worn-down mother, paired with a clickbait caption, and the comments section exploded. If canceling my kid's wedding meant I could snag a boyfriend and retire early, sign me up. Sounds like someone figured out how to monetize disappointment. Those were the jokes. The real wounds came from the hate. At her age, pulling stunts like this. Shameful. It's one thing not to help your kid. It's another to sabotage him. Worst mother I've ever seen. If my mom pulled this crap, I'd end up in the ER with heart failure. Within hours, I was trending single mom cancels son's wedding to date older man. I found out while crouching at my front porch, still scrubbing off the last of the spray paint. Just then, Mrs. Simmons' daughter came by to visit with her little girl. The child pointed at me with wide, curious eyes and asked, Mommy, is that her? The one from the internet who canceled the wedding to go on dates. Her mother flushed with embarrassment. I'm so sorry. She doesn't understand. Please don't take it personally. She yanked the girl inside like I was something toxic. But how could I not take it personally? I opened my phone. My name, my face mocked by strangers. The comments got louder, nastier. The whole world now seemed to agree. I was some hysterical old woman who couldn't stand her son's happiness. A burden. A disgrace. Not fit to be a mother or even a human being. Fuming. I traced the video back to Daniel's account. The thumbnail was a photo I knew by heart. Senior year of high school. I'd rushed from work in my factory uniform, soaked in sweat, just to see him get his cap and gown photos taken. I'd whispered to him, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to change. I wanted to look nice for your big day. And what did Daniel say back then? He put his arm around me and turned to his classmates. This is my mom, he said with pride. She's amazing. She's been working all day and still showed up for me. The kids gathered around, sincere and full of admiration. Your mom's incredible. I wish I had a mom like her. Daniel had beamed at me. His eyes were shining with joy. And now, He'd used that very photo, that moment of Lovia's content, as bait, so that strangers could spit on me. No caption, no defense, just a target on my back. No one knew the truth, that I had skipped lunch that day, hadn't even washed my face, just to deliver him food, just to make sure he wasn't hungry. If image mattered so much to him now, then why should I keep protecting his? I pulled out that photo, the one that had been my phone's wallpaper all these years. My favorite picture of us. I studied how to post a public statement. Finally figured it out. I posted the photo and wrote a message. When you were 4, I walked away from your father with nothing but custody papers in my hand. I gave up half of everything just to keep you safe. That was 21 years ago. And ever since, I've carried guilt. For not giving you a perfect home. For every little thing you lacked. So I overcompensated. I bent over backwards trying to make up for it. Terrified you'd blame me. Resent me. But that overcompensation taught you something dangerous, that a mother's love is endless. That you could take and I'd never say no. That was my mistake. Poverty can break a spine. But it can't break a mother. And yet here you are using an old photo of me at my weakest. Broadcasting it to strangers so they can mock me. Whatever happened to that boy who cried at 18 and promised he'd take care of me? When did that kind, grateful son become this stranger? One who would trade his mother's dignity for a few likes? Did I raise you wrong? Or is your father's cruelty just too deep in your blood? If you're brave enough to share my worst photo, why not post the one where we stood together, smiling? Are you scared people might see how close we once were? Maybe we should ask your old classmates, the ones who saw the mom who brought you hot meals, who worked through lunch just to make you smile, whether I'm the selfish monster you've made me out to be. The photo attached, same background, same sweat-streaked work uniform, same thread on my lashes. The only difference was the boy beside metal, thin, and smiling wide. A boy who once loved his mother. I posted the video. It went viral within hours, rocketing straight to the trending page. Didn't take long before Daniel showed up at my door, face flushed red, sweat beading on his forehead. Do you even realize I'm in the middle of a background check for a government position? He snapped. Thousands of applicants, and I finally got an interview, and you want to ruin that? Delete the video right now. I swear, if you don't, I'll never forgive you. I stared at him, unmoved. Gone was the mother who used to rush for a towel, who'd wipe his sweat and worry he'd catch a chill. I simply said, cold and even, love me, hate might's all the same to me now. Do what you want. He switched tactics fast, trying to squeeze some guilt out of me, his voice softening into something pitiful and desperate. Mom, do you really want to go this far? You can still work, still hold it together. But what about when you're 70, sick, no insurance, no retirement? Then who'll you have to rely on? Me. You'll need me. Just given this once. I'll remember it. We can still fix this. His words sounded like an emotional lullaby. All velvet on the surface, but underneath, just more of the same. He wanted me to keep paying, keep carrying, keep pretending nothing was wrong. I didn't even dignify it with a response. I closed the door in his face. 2 days later, an investigator came to my door for Daniel's background check. I didn't embellish. I didn't dramatize. I simply told the truth. Every word, every action, every video he doctored, especially the one where he accused me of hooking up with an old man to sabotage his wedding. I handed them the evidence. A few days later, the official list came out. Daniel's name wasn't on it. After more than a year of prep, the government job he'd worked so hard for was gone. That same night, he went live on social media, dragging along the one person I never thought I'd see again, his repulsive father. Daniel sobbed on camera, gasping like he was suffocating on grief. God, what did I even do? I didn't ask her to help me, just asked her not to sabotage me. But she ruined my wedding, and now she's ruined my future. And that pathetic excuse of a man beside him, my ex-husband, he had the gall to play the martyr. For this child, I gave up everything. I walked away from all our assets just to leave him with his mother. I wanted to give him a good life. As he spoke, Daniel's face twitched, his mouth pulled downward, his eyes uneasy. He didn't say a word in response. But the fact that he was willing to sit beside the man who tore our family apart, just to go after me, they both sat there in front of thousands of viewers, painting me as unstable, a problem, a failed mother. But what they'll never understand is this. Years ago, I bowed. I broke. I swallowed every ounce of pain and shame. But not this time. This time, I have no soft spot left. And if they think they can bend me again, God, that's almost funny. I dug out every piece of proof I had from those years. The divorce papers. Photos of me carrying Daniel on my back at construction sites. Pictures of him curled up in a corner doing homework. And me hunched over a sewing machine at midnight, racing to finish orders. Snapshots from our tiny rental, the kitchenette where I cooked, the floor mattress where I slept, the towel-wrapped child I nursed through fevers. There were even factory photos of him, the only woman on the floor, arms covered in old bruises, never once stopping to rest. Miles, the boutique owner's Sona designer freshly back from Seattle, heard the story from his mother and volunteered to help. He created a 38-page report. Photos, captions, timelines, everything meticulously laid out. He shared it with Daniel's former high school and college alumni networks. He also submitted it to a local women's rights group. Naturally, I uploaded it to social media too. And just like that, the tide turned. Ladies, stop treating your child like your religion. When push comes to shove, he'll side with the abuser. This hurts so bad. She gave him everything, and he turned around and said, "She ruined my wedding." Run, honey. If this is the kind of man you're marrying into, you'll be the next one crying. Daniel and his father could lie, cry, perform, but people aren't fools. The truth has a shape. Most can recognize it when they see it. Soon, a few young men began posting co-creation videos to support me. We still remember Maureen showing up to school for Daniel all the time. Daniel, how can you pretend none of that happened? They were his old classmates, the same ones who had taken our graduation photos. They not only reached out with kind messages, but actually called me, just to say they remembered. I told them I'd long since closed the sewing shop. They asked if I was looking for work. Said they'd be happy to connect me with something easy and part-time. I didn't need the money, rental income was more than enough, but I was deeply moved. So I made them each a quilt by hand and mailed them out. To my surprise, their unboxing videos went viral. Turns out the mom her son tried to humiliate on the internet makes the most beautiful quilts you've ever seen. She's not some tragic figure in a store-ish reel. She's our mom. With the attention came someone I hadn't expected. Heather, Daniel's fiancée. She showed up at my door unannounced, eyes puffy and rimmed with red. But her expression was steady, almost stubborn. "Maureen," she said, "I booked a flight to Denver for tomorrow. I don't think we'll be seeing each other again." I blinked. I had assumed she was here to plead Daniel's case, and I was already rehearsing how to let her down with dignity. But she continued, "I can't respect a man who treats his mother like that." I gently placed my hand on hers. "I'm sorry. If I hadn't caused such a storm, you two would have already had your perfect wedding." But she shook her head, firm and clear. "No, because of what you did. I finally saw him for who he is. I used to think he was just a little controlling. Now I realize he's incapable of empathy. You didn't ruin our wedding, you saved me from it." As she was leaving, I handed her a freshly made quilt. There are so many children in this world worth loving. It's just a shame the one I gave birth to turned out to be a cold-blooded stranger. The next morning, I was walking home from the market, plastic bags dangling from my wrists, when Daniel suddenly jumped out of an alleyway, his hand clutching a paring knife. "What did you say to Heather?" His voice cracked, wild and unhinged. His eyes burned with fury. "You ruined my job, and now you're stealing my fiancée too. She saw you for one damn evening and blocked me. That was you, wasn't it? You told her to do it. You told her to leave me. You're poisonous." I stopped in my tracks. But I wasn't afraid. I looked at this man, this stranger wearing my son's face, and felt nothing but a hollow, steady clarity. "You're furious," I said calmly, "because she used the one trick you taught me and you. Isn't that it?" Daniel's mouth trembled. I only said you couldn't speak at the wedding. That's it. And for that, you destroyed my whole life. Is this what you wanted?" I spoke softly, but every word landed sharp and sure. "You wouldn't let me stand on your stage, so I stopped standing for you. You betrayed me once, I forgave you. Twice I turned away with dignity. But then you used my wounds as leverage to win your father and stepmother's affection. Over and over. There's nothing left for me to give." His jaw clenched. His eyes darted. "My dad was right." He hissed. "He said you were toxic." I didn't believe him before. Now I do. Maybe it was the sheer repetition of disappointment, but hearing him say that didn't even sting anymore. I looked him in the eyes and said, "Yes, all because you didn't want me on that stage. You thought I wasn't presentable enough. Fine. I'll exit your life completely. Let the presentable ones do the honors." His eyes flared. red rimmed the edges. You know Dad won't pay for anything. He spat. You know he won't lift a damn finger. And you still force me into this. I let out a laugh, small and tired, but real. Daniel, I have to ask you something. If you know your father has never paid, never lifted a finger for you, why do you keep hurting me to win his favor? Why do you keep choosing the one who gives you nothing? He scoffed, rolled his eyes, and barked. Because you're my mom. What? You expect me to repay you. You're supposed to help me, no matter what. At least with Dad, if I play it right, he might hand me a house or a car. Why can't you see how this works? I froze. I'd imagined so many explanations. Emotional immaturity, cold detachment. Maybe he just didn't understand me. But I had never expected the truth to be so blunt, so soulless. He'd calculated, weighed me against his father, and decided I wasn't worth anything anymore. He didn't love either of us. He loved what he could get. And me, I was just supposed to keep giving, no matter the cost, no matter the bruises. Silent, invisible. But I'm not a machine. I'm not a myth. I'm not just a mother. I'm a person. And this is my life too. Recently, Miles, the boutique owner's son, started a new business venture. He was developing a travel project called Senior Adventures, a series of tailor-made trips for retirees who weren't ready to sit still. And with the holidays coming up, he asked if I'd like to be a trial guest and official experience tester. In plain English, free travel, get paid, and all I had to do was share my feedback on the itinerary. Was that even a question? Of course I said yes. That's how I found myself on a cruise ship headed for Alaska, standing on the deck, letting the ocean breeze tangle my hair. When my phone buzzed with a headline so outrageous I had to read it twice. Father sets up son to repay gambling debts, both arrested in sting operation. The video was blurred, faces pixelated, but I'd know those two anywhere, even if they were ashes. Daniel and Donald, that conniving, silver-tongued rat of a man. There they were, bound, cuffed, and hanging in some dingy warehouse like two bad jokes taped together. As I scrolled through the news and comments, the whole story unfolded like a tragicomedy in slow motion. Turns out, in the past few years, Donald had burned through every penny he had gambling, women, reckless spending, and eventually got cleaned out by some mistress who took the last of his assets and ran. Broke and desperate, he set his eyes on me. Specifically, on the demolition compensation I'd received not too long ago. It just so happened that Daniel was planning his wedding at the time. Donald, ever the showman, told Daniel he wanted to gift him a house as a wedding present, and whisked him off to Vegas under the guise of expanding his horizons. In reality, they'd already struck a backroom deal with a group of shady underground gamblers. Donald would vouch for Daniel. Daniel would take out high-interest loans and go all in at the tables. If they won, they'd split the pot 70-30. But of course, they didn't win. Daniel lost everything, including the down payment on the house I had once quietly planned to give him. Donald, predictably, flipped, accused the casino of cheating, and went storming in to get their money back. The casino didn't take kindly to that. They strung both of them up in a basement, old school style. Their luck, somehow still rotten and golden, they just happened to be caught in a journalist's undercover sting investigating illegal gambling rings. Everything got swept up. The den was raided, ledgers seized, cameras rolling. Donald was formally charged with promoting and facilitating illegal gambling. As for Daniel, no official charges yet, but the internet had already convicted him. The whole world now knew he'd let his deadbeat dad con him into debt, all over a house he couldn't afford and a wedding that no longer existed. This, after sobbing online that I had destroyed his life. What a joke. They called me a venomous mother, a deranged woman, unfit, unlovable. But now they've seen the real monsters. And who's the joke now? Daniel had clearly spiraled into fool self-destruction mode. He'd set up a tripod right outside my front door, streaming live like it was his new job. Hey friends, he began, his tone mock casual. You won't believe this, but I only found out my mom had those seized properties and the compensation money from your comments. I'll admit it. Okay. I did some shady stuff trying to get more cash from my dad. But can you blame me? The guy neglected me my whole life. If I sweet-talk him a little to get something back, what's the crime? And my mom, come on, she's family. If I use her a little, she's not really gonna hold it against me. Right, we win a little, lose a little, what's her problem? Even though a good number of people in the comments were roasting him, traffic on his stream surged. And wouldn't you know it, the audience started fighting with itself. Wait, he's kinda making sense though. So just because your mom loves you, she's fair game for emotional exploitation? Absolutely not. Daniel saw the boost and ran with it. He started perfecting his act. A few jabs at his dad, a tragic monologue about his neglected childhood, then cue the crocodile tears and the "I'm a broken man" bit. To anyone else, it might have looked sincere. To me, it was just polished performance. I'd seen those tears before. Too many times. By the time I returned from the group trip, suitcase in one hand, keys in the other, I bumped into him and his damn selfie stick right outside my door. He didn't miss a beat. "Mom," he said, voice cracking on cue. "I get it now. You're the only one who's ever loved me without asking for anything. Everyone else, they just want something from me." His tone had that trembling, redemptive quiver to it, like some kind of spiritual breakthrough. I didn't flinch, didn't feel a thing. If this was a real awakening, it sure came with suspicious timing and way too many camera angles. Still, after all his stunts, I was tired. Not broken, not fooled, just tired. So I stood there, let out a slow sigh, and said, "All right, what kind of mother can really stay mad at her kid forever? Huh? That father of yours, I saw what he did in the news. Scamming his own son. He had it coming." The moment the words left my mouth, Daniel threw his arms around me, sobbing like a faucet was turned on full blast. "Mom, I knew it. I knew you'd always be there. You've always had my back." His tears soaked my shoulder as the camera stayed trained on our embrace, and the live stream chat exploded. "Are you kidding me?" She forgave him that easily. "I've been following since day one, feeling for this mom, and now she's just making peace. I'm done." Inside, I whispered a quiet apology to all the kind strangers who had defended me so fiercely. But the truth is, I wasn't forgiving him. Not really. This time, I had my own plan. The moment Daniel sensed I was softening, he latched on like a barnacle to a hull. He started coming home constantly. And he never came empty-handed, he always brought his tripod and phone. Everything he did was broadcast live. Washing dishes, wiping floors, buying flowers, cooking dinner, each gesture dripped with over-the-top sweetness. "Mom, I got this," he'd say, again and again, like a catchphrase. But I knew better than anyone. None of it was for me. It was all for the camera. For 2 whole weeks, we lived in what you could call a picture-perfect truce. Daniel's live streams painted a portrait of redemption. The prodigal son returns, now a reformed, doting caregiver. He'd hum tunes while making dinner, fold my laundry on camera, even massage my shoulders between content segments. The viewers were divided. Half of them roasted me for being too quick to forgive, while the other half couldn't tear their eyes away from the spectacle. But eventually, as always, the mask slipped. One night, he sidled up beside me with that faux casual tone he thought I couldn't see through. "Hey Mom, I've got this buddy is doing this solar panel investment thing. Making crazy money." He leaned closer, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Remember that house you bought for my wedding? I was thinking, why not sell it now? Use that to invest." I narrowed my eyes. "Which house?" Without missing a beat, Daniel slid behind me, kneading my shoulders like a dutiful little masseuse. "Come on, Mom, the house. The one you paid for outright. Remember, support me this one last time, please." I let him work. Let him press his hands into my back like I was clay he could mold. Then, when I'd had enough, I smiled. "Oh, that house," I said lightly. "I sold it already." His hands froze mid-motion, like he'd touched a live wire. "You sold it?" His voice cracked. "Where's the money?" He spun around to face me, red-faced and seething. "You canceled the venue and the wedding planner, plus the demolition payout, and the house. There should be hundreds of thousands left. Hand it over. I'm about to start my business." I looked him straight in the eye and said, almost conversationally, "It's gone." Daniel's face went pale, then flushed, like boiling water bubbling under glass. "That was my money," he shouted. "You had no right to spend it without asking me. What the hell would an old woman like you even need that much money for? Give it back." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Your money. What did you ever contribute to earn a cent of it? I saved that money for my future, not so you could throw it down some startup pit you'll abandon in 6 months." That was it. The mask shattered. He exploded, stabbing a finger at me, screaming, "That was my inheritance. How dare you touch it? You old hag. Why don't you just die already?" He lunged forward, mouth still spewing filth, but I cut him off with a glance cold and sharp as glass. Inheritance, I repeated, my voice like ice. Daniel, I'm still very much alive. My life is mine, not your personal ATM. His face twisted. Jaw clenching, words spilling out in a frantic mess. I just need 1 million, and I'm set for life. You won't even have to lift a finger. Same damn dream. Same damn delusion. Donald used to say the exact same thing. And look where he ended up, rotting in a jail cell. Last time, I let my soft heart drag me back into their mess. But not this time. He can beg, he can cry, he can burn the whole internet down, but I won't lift a single finger. The moment we launched our Silver Horizons Travel Club, it took off like wildfire. It wasn't long before "Follow Maureen Around the World" became the slogan printed on every poster and ad. We were the go-to name for seniors with passports and dreams. I was sitting across from Miles, planning a new Sunset Voyager cruise route, when a call came in from an unfamiliar number. Maureen Carter, came a voice laced with mockery. Seems like business is booming. Maybe it's time you remember that poor son of yours, the one drowning in debt and teetering on the edge of collapse. If you don't step in, this might be the end of the road for him. I didn't respond right away. I let the silence stretch for a moment, then calmly ended the call. No panic. No cops. No dramatic reaction. Just a sip of coffee. Then I turned back to Miles's budget sheet and handed Jason the updated itinerary proposal. That night, I came across Daniel's latest video online. He sat alone in a nearly empty room, eyes red-rimmed, voice quivering. I really tried. He said, I never meant to hurt anyone. But I failed. I can't even reach my own mom. She's the only person I had left to ask for help. The comments came fast and sharp. You keep calling her your only lifeline after you torched the bridge yourself. Real tears. But where's the apology? Where's the accountability? I stared at the screen for a while, then typed out what would be my final public message to my son. Daniel, you're 30 years old. Grown men don't trade tears for bailouts. I'm not your emergency fund, your fallback plan, or your emotional spare tire. That door closed a long time ago. I wish you peace, but I won't rescue you again. That night, Jason looked at me over dinner and asked gently, do you regret it? I shook my head. No, I gave everything I had when I was a mother. Now, I just want to be me. Months later, Daniel filed for bankruptcy. I heard whispers he'd taken a night shift job as a warehouse floor supervisor, quiet, off the grid, out of the spotlight. People asked me, did you ever help him again? I always answered the same. I did. I let him go. That's help for both of us. The hardest part of the second half of life isn't fighting fate. It's learning when to release. I was never a perfect mother, but for the first time in my life, I am a whole person. And for the next 10 years, I led women like Memethers, widows, warriors across oceans and deserts, through sunrise and sunset. Because who says our lives should end in kitchens and quiet corners? I turned my final decades into an echo of every stifled dream I once whispered. And all the people who laughed at me, used me, erased me, they're just background noise now.